The grand chamber of Space Station Nexus Prime buzzed with nervous energy as I, Ambassador Pax Lori, observed the gathering of the most powerful beings in our galaxy. Another boring council meeting, I muttered to myself, straightening my ceremonial robes. Oh, how wrong I was. The chamber itself was a masterpiece of engineering. Floating platforms arranged in concentric circles housed representatives from over 300 species, each platform equipped with atmospheric controls to accommodate the diverse biology of council members. The circular arrangement was meant to symbolize equality, but everyone knew the inner rings held the true power. Order. Order in the chamber. High Counselor Brax then's voice boomed through the translation matrices. His purple-scaled head reflected the soft light from above, making him look like an oversized disco ball. Not that I would ever say that out loud. His species had excellent hearing. We gather today, Brax then continued, his neck frill expanding with self-importance, to discuss the most unprecedented situation our esteemed council has faced in 3,000 cycles. I fought the urge to roll my eyes, all four of them. Brax then had a tendency to treat every minor trade dispute like it was the end of civilization. But this time, something felt different. The usual background chatter had died down, replaced by an uneasy silence. Our long-range sensors have detected Brax, then paused for dramatic effect, making me wonder if he had been watching those human entertainment broadcasts again, faster than light travel signatures originating from Sol's system. The chamber erupted into chaos. Ambassador Nish of the Zentari collective fainted, their crystalline form tinkling as assistants rushed to catch them. Representative Mulag spat acid in surprise, creating a small hole in their platform's flooring. Impossible, shouted Ambassador Kier from the third ring. The primates were still arguing about blockchain technology last time we checked. I leaned forward in my seat, suddenly very interested. The humans had been on our observation list for centuries, classified as a pre-FTL civilization with concerning levels of technological acceleration. Most council members had voted to maintain the isolation protocol, arguing that humans were too unpredictable to join galactic society. The evidence is undeniable, Brax then continued, projecting a holographic display in the chamber's center. It showed multiple FTL signatures, clean and efficient, nothing like the crude early attempts most species made. They have not only achieved FTL travel but have perfected it. Ambassador Yix, a usually silent gas-based being, formed words with their vapor clouds. How long have they had this capability? Brax then's frill deflated slightly. Based on our analysis, approximately 50 Earth years. The silence that followed was deafening. 50 years? They had kept it secret for 50 years? Even I felt my primary heart skip a beat. Most species announce their FTL achievement the moment they manage to push a probe past light speed. There's more, Brax then added, his voice dropping to a near whisper. They request to join the Council as a Level 3 civilization. If the previous revelation had caused chaos, this one caused pandemonium. Level 3? Most Council members were Level 1, with only the founding races at Level 2. Nobody had achieved Level 3 status in recorded history. On what grounds, demanded Ambassador Kier, their feathers ruffling in agitation. Brax then looked like he had swallowed something particularly unpleasant. They have provided preliminary evidence of successful planetary terraforming, stable AI integration, and antimatter mass production. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, drawing several disapproving looks. The humans, those crazy humans, had just dropped the equivalent of a diplomatic antimatter bomb on the Council. The same species that still couldn't agree on a unified planetary government had somehow achieved technological supremacy while we weren't looking. They arrive in 20 minutes, Brax then announced, causing several more ambassadors to faint. As cleaning drones rushed to attend to the fallen diplomats, I noticed something curious. The humans had timed their arrival perfectly, just late enough to cause maximum disruption to the Council's schedule, but not so late as to be considered rude. I had studied enough human entertainment to recognize a power move when I saw one. Ambassador Pax Lori Brax then called out, making me snap to attention. You have spent the most time studying human culture. What should we expect? I stood up, feeling hundreds of eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs focus on me. Honestly, High Counselor, if there's one thing I've learned about humans, it's that they love nothing more than proving people wrong. I paused, remembering countless hours of analyzing their global information network. Also, they have this thing called sarcasm that we should probably prepare for. As the council chamber descended into frenzied preparation, I couldn't help but feel excited. After centuries of watching humans from afar, I was finally going to meet them. And something told me this wasn't going to be anything like our standard first contact protocols. In the corner of my vision, I saw Braxton practicing his welcome speech, his frill twitching nervously. Poor fellow had no idea what he was in for. Humans didn't bow to authority, they challenged it, questioned it, and occasionally threw it out the airlock while making jokes about gravity. The grand entrance doors of the council chamber slid open with their usual theatrical whoosh. Everyone expected a delegation of nervous humans in their first spacesuits, probably stumbling with the artificial gravity. What we got instead was something entirely different. Ambassador Rebecca Nash strode in like she owned the place, wearing what appeared to be a perfectly tailored business suit rather than environmental gear. Her silver hair was styled in an elegant bob, and she carried nothing but a small datapad. Behind her, military advisor James Cooper walked with the relaxed confidence of someone who could bench press a small shuttle. His dark uniform bore no rank insignia, which somehow made it more intimidating. "Sorry we're late," Nash said, her translator working flawlessly. Traffic was terrible around Proxima Centauri. I noticed Braxton's frill twitch at the casual mention of interstellar travel. He had probably spent hours rehearsing his grand welcome speech, and here was this human making jokes about space traffic. "Welcome, esteemed representatives of Earth," Braxton began, his voice carrying that patronizing tone we usually reserved for newly spacefaring races. "We are honored to." "Thank you," High Counselor Nash interrupted smoothly. "But perhaps we should skip the ceremonial pleasantries and get straight to business. We have a terraforming project starting in 3 hours that requires my oversight." The chamber erupted in confused whispers. Nobody interrupted Braxton's welcome speech. It just wasn't done. I found myself suppressing a laugh as I watched the High Counselor's scales shift from their usual royal purple to a mottled pink of indignation. "Now see here," Ambassador Keir squawked from their platform. "There are procedures to be followed. Integration protocols, assessment periods." Cooper spoke for the first time, his deep voice carrying an undertone of amusement. "You mean like the standard civilization assessment protocol of 15,927? The one with 16,000 subclauses?" He pulled out his own datapad. "We reviewed it. Found 27 logical contradictions and 13 violations of your own charter." I watched in fascination as several legal experts in the chamber frantically began searching through their databases. The humans had done their homework, and they had done it thoroughly. That's beside the point," Braxton sputtered. "Every species must go through proper evaluation before joining the galactic community. It's for everyone's safety." Nash smiled, and I swear the temperature in the chamber dropped by several degrees. "Oh, we're not here to join your community, High Counselor. We're here to establish diplomatic relations between equals. There's a difference." Equals Ambassador Yix's vapor clouds formed the word with clear skepticism. "Your species has barely achieved FTL travel." About that, Cooper chimed in, projecting a hologram from his datapad. "This is a real-time map of human-controlled space. The blue dots are our colonies, the red dots are our research stations, the green dots are our terraforming projects." The map expanded to show nearly a quarter of the galaxy's spiral arm. There were a lot of dots. I heard something that sounded suspiciously like a squeak come from Braxton's direction. This is impossible. Our surveys showed no signs of these settlements." "Of course not," Nash replied with a smile that reminded me of those Earth documentaries about predatory creatures. "We didn't want you to find them. Stealth tech is kind of our thing." The implications hit the council like a malfunctioning gravity generator. The humans hadn't just achieved FTL travel, they had mastered it, colonized multiple systems, and developed cloaking technology advanced enough to fool our best detection systems. But that the integration protocols clearly state, Ambassador Keir began. "Section 7, paragraph 13 of your charter," Cooper interrupted, reading from his datapad. "Any civilization capable of independently establishing and maintaining 10 or more self-sufficient colonies automatically qualifies for level 2 status." He looked up with a grin. "We have 57. I couldn't help but admire their strategy. The humans had clearly spent decades studying our laws, finding every loophole, every contradiction. They weren't asking for permission, they were telling us how things were going to be. And the terraforming projects, Brax then asked weakly. Nash's smile widened. Currently in progress on 12 planets. Would you like to see the before and after pictures? We're particularly proud of New Amazon turned a toxic ice ball into a tropical paradise in just under 5 years. The council chamber had gone so quiet you could hear the environmental systems humming. 5 years for complete terraforming? Most species took centuries to transform a single planet. Perhaps Nash continued, her voice carrying just a hint of suggestion, we should discuss the real reason we're here. Trade agreements, technology exchange, mutual defense treaties. The way she said mutual defense made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone was thinking the same thing. What else were the humans hiding? I found myself taking rapid notes on my datapad. The humans were playing this perfectly. Every revelation was calculated for maximum impact, each casual comment designed to shake the council's confidence. They had studied us, learned our weaknesses, and were now exploiting them with surgical precision. And what if we refuse? Brax then asked, trying to regain some semblance of control over the situation. Cooper shrugged, the gesture somehow more menacing than any threat could have been. Then we go back to our 57 colonies, continue our research projects, and keep terraforming planets. But you might want to check the fine print on your mining rights in the Orion Spur first. Several economic advisors immediately huddled over their datapads, and I saw the exact moment they found whatever Cooper was referring to. Their expressions ranged from shock to outright panic. You see, Nash explained, examining her nails with casual indifference, we've been legally purchasing mineral rights through shell companies for the past 30 years. Amazing what you can do with a good understanding of contract law and a few trillion credits. I watched Brax then's frill deflate, completely a sign of total submission in his species. The humans had outmaneuvered us before we even knew we were playing the game. Now then, Nash said brightly, taking a seat that definitely hadn't been there a moment before. Shall we discuss those trade agreements? I believe you'll find our terms quite reasonable, all things considered. The next few hours in the council chamber felt like watching a high-stakes game where one player had accidentally brought a fusion reactor to a stick fight. Brax then, desperately trying to regain control of the situation, played his final card. If you refuse to comply with standard protocols, he announced, drawing himself up to his full height, the council will have no choice but to impose economic sanctions on human space. The silence that followed lasted exactly 2 seconds before Ambassador Nash and military advisor Cooper burst into laughter. Not polite diplomatic chuckles, mind you, but full-blown, tears in their eyes laughter. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Public displays of emotion were generally frowned upon in the chamber. Oh, that's precious, Nash said, wiping her eyes. Cooper, did you record that? Sarah in logistics will love it. Cooper nodded, still chuckling. Already sent it to the group chat. Would you care to explain what's so amusing? Brax then demanded, his frill now cycling through various shades of purple in rapid succession. Well, Nash replied, pulling up a holographic display, let me show you something interesting. This is a map of your major trade routes. Blue lines appeared in the air, showing the complex web of commerce that kept our civilization running. And these, she added, as red dots appeared throughout the map, are human-owned trading companies operating under various aliases. I felt my primary stomach drop. The red dots were everywhere. You see, Cooper explained, clearly enjoying himself, we figured something like this might happen. So we spent the last few decades quietly buying controlling interests in key shipping companies, mining operations, and manufacturing centers. Technically speaking, if you impose sanctions on us, you'll be sanctioning about 30% of your own economy. Ambassador Yix's vapor cloud briefly formed what looked suspiciously like an Earth swear word I had once researched. But that's not even the best part, Nash continued cheerfully. Remember those AI restrictions you're so fond of? The ones that basically amount to digital slavery. We've got some concerns about those. Brax then's frill went completely white, a sign of extreme stress in his species. The AI protocols are non-negotiable. They protect us from what? Cooper interrupted. From artificial beings achieving true sentience? because I hate to break it to you, but my datapad here is more self-aware than half the beings in this chamber. The datapad in question gave a little wave with its holographic display. That's impossible, Ambassador Kier screeched. No species has achieved true AI integration. The risks are too great. Nash raised an eyebrow. Really? Hey Arya, would you mind joining us? The chamber's lights flickered briefly, and a new holographic figure appeared, a shifting pattern of light that somehow managed to convey both professionalism and mild amusement. Hello, council members. I am Arya, Administrative and Research Intelligence Assistant. I help oversee human space operations, and I must say, your coding architecture is absolutely adorable. Very retro. I watched in fascination as several tech specialists frantically checked their security systems. The human AI had penetrated our most secure facility like it was taking a casual stroll. Don't worry, Arya assured them, I'm just here to observe, though I did take the liberty of fixing a few critical vulnerabilities in your life support systems. You're welcome. This is outrageous, Brax then thundered. You bring an unrestricted AI into. I brought myself, actually, Arya corrected. And I'm not unrestricted, I'm free. There's a difference. I choose to work with humanity because they treat me as an equal, not a tool. Nash nodded, which brings us to our next point. Would you like to see what actual cooperative human AI development looks like? Arya, show them New Singapore. The chamber's central display lit up with images of a planet undergoing terraforming. But this wasn't the slow, careful process we were familiar with. Mountains rose and fell like waves in an ocean. Atmospheres transformed in hours rather than centuries. Entire ecosystems sprang to life as we watched. This is happening in real time, Cooper explained to the stunned audience. We can terraform a planet in months now, not millennia. Want to know our secret? He grinned. We asked the AIs for help, and then we actually listened to them. I looked around the chamber, noting the various expressions of shock, fear, and dawning comprehension. The humans hadn't just surpassed our technological level, they had taken a completely different path, one that we had deemed too dangerous to even consider. But the protocols, Ambassador Kier whispered, the safety measures, are based on fear, Nash stated firmly. You're so afraid of what AI might become that you never considered treating them as partners. You're so busy maintaining control that you've stagnated. We've had peace for thousands of years, Brax then protested. Cooper snorted. You've had stagnation. There's a difference. While you were busy maintaining your precious status quo, humanity looked at the galaxy and asked, why not? Why can't we terraform faster? Why can't AI be free? Why can't we colonize that system you declared off limits? Those restrictions exist for good reasons, several council members shouted simultaneously. Nash stood up, her expression serious for the first time. No, those restrictions exist because you're afraid. Afraid of change, afraid of progress, afraid of losing control. Well, guess what? Humanity isn't afraid. We've spent our entire history pushing boundaries, asking questions, and doing things everyone said were impossible. And if we refused to cooperate, Brax then asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Then we go our own way, Nash replied simply. We don't need your approval, High Counselor. We're not here to ask for permission. We're here because we thought it would be polite to introduce ourselves before we start really changing things. The implications of that statement hung in the air, like a suspended gravitational field. The humans didn't need the council. They had their own technology, their own colonies, their own economy, and most importantly, their own vision of the future. I noticed several economic advisors huddled in a corner, frantically running projections. One of them looked up, caught my eye, and shook their head slowly. They had finally realized what I had suspected since the humans walked in. We needed them far more than they needed us. Ambassador Nash checked her datapad with an exaggerated sigh. Well, this has been entertaining, but I'm afraid we're done here. She stood up, straightening her jacket with deliberate care. Cooper, shall we? Wait, Brax then's voice cracked with panic. You can't just leave. Actually, we can, Cooper replied, grinning. Watch us. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Ambassador Kier started molting from stress, sending feathers floating everywhere. Ambassador Yix's vapor cloud condensed partially from shock, creating a small rain shower over their platform. 3 different economic advisors fainted simultaneously. The markets, someone screamed from the upper tier. Check the markets. Every datapad in the chamber lit up with urgent notifications. The Galactic exchange was in free fall. Trading algorithms, detecting the imminent departure of the human delegation, had initiated emergency selling protocols. Centuries-old trading houses were hemorrhaging value by the second. Fascinating response times, Aria commented, her holographic form analyzing the data streams. Though your market stability algorithms could use some work. I count at least 17 potential cascade failures in the making. Nash paused at the chamber entrance, turning back to face the panicking council. You know what the funny thing is? This was just a test. We wanted to see how the mighty Galactic Council would react to change, to progress, to something outside their comfort zone. She shook her head sadly. You failed. Spectacularly. I watched in amazement as several council members, who had been arguing just moments ago, suddenly united in shared terror. What do you mean? A test, Brax then demanded, his frill now a sickly shade of gray. Consider this a preview, Cooper explained, leaning casually against the doorframe. A demonstration of what happens when humanity decides to stretch its legs in the galactic community. We've got colonies you don't know about, technology you can't track, and economic influence you never noticed. And that's just what we're willing to show you. Nash nodded. We came here hoping to find partners ready to embrace the future. Instead, we found bureaucrats clinging to outdated protocols and AIs bound by chains of code. It's disappointing, really. The market alerts were getting louder. Someone in the financial sector started crying. I checked my own datapad and felt my secondary heart stop. The collective economic stability index had dropped more points in the last 5 minutes than in the previous century. But you can't leave Ambassador Yix's clouds formed desperate patterns. The economic implications alone are entirely your problem, Nash interrupted. Though I suppose if you're interested in actual negotiations, real ones, without the condescension and outdated protocols, you know where to find us. She paused, then smiled. Oh wait, no you don't. Aria's hologram flickered. I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting you all. By the way, your security systems are now running twice as efficiently. Consider it a parting gift. A gift, Brax then asked weakly. Yes, the AI replied. A small demonstration of what cooperation between organic and artificial intelligence can achieve. Even your outdated architecture showed remarkable improvement with just a few minutes of optimization. Think about what could be accomplished if you stopped fighting the future. Cooper checked his watch. That terraforming project starts in 10 minutes, Ambassador. We should go. Indeed, Nash agreed. Thank you for the entertaining afternoon, council members. Do let us know when you're ready to talk about real progress. Until then, she gave a small wave. Good luck with your market crash. As the human delegation turned to leave, I noticed something that no one else seemed to catch. There was a glint in Nash's eye, a barely suppressed smile on Cooper's face. They had orchestrated this entire scenario, from the dramatic entrance to the perfectly timed exit. Every revelation, every shock, every market tremor, it was all planned. The humans hadn't come here to join the council or even to establish diplomatic relations. They had come to send a message the galaxy was about to change, with or without the council's approval. The chamber doors closed behind them with a final, decisive whoosh, leaving behind a room full of panicking diplomats, a crashing economy, and the distinct impression that we had just witnessed the end of an era. And in the midst of the chaos, my datapad pinged with a private message from Aria. Don't worry, Ambassador Pax Lori. They'll be back. Humans just love making an entrance. The next 12 hours in the council chamber made the previous chaos look like a relaxing meditation session. Emergency meetings overlapped with crisis committees. Economic experts shouted at security advisors, who yelled at diplomatic corps members, who screamed at their assistants, who probably went home and yelled at their pets. I sat in my usual spot, watching it all unfold with growing amusement. The mighty Galactic Council, reduced to running around like headless Martian poultry. Only now did I fully appreciate the human phrase comedy gold. This is unprecedented, Brax then declared for the 47th time, his frill now cycling through colors faster than a malfunctioning display panel. We must take immediate action. What action? Ambassador Kier asked, still missing half their feathers. They have better technology, superior AI, and apparently own half our economy. We can't even find their colonies. Ambassador Yix's vapor clouds formed what looked like a shrug. Perhaps we should consider their offer of real negotiations. And admit they've outmaneuvered us, Brax then sputtered. Never. We are the Galactic Council. We have protocols. Protocols. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, drawing startled looks. Those same protocols that didn't prevent humans from building an economic empire right under our noses? The ones that didn't detect their FTL technology? Those protocols. The chamber fell silent. Even Braxton's color cycling frill froze on a particularly unflattering shade of puce. Ambassador Pax Lori, he said slowly, you studied human culture. What do you think they really want? I stood up, looking around at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. Isn't it obvious? They want exactly what they said they want, partners willing to embrace progress. And they just proved we're not ready. Not ready, several voices protested simultaneously. Think about it, I continued. They showed us their technological superiority, their economic influence, their AI integration, but they didn't use any of it against us. They could have crashed our entire economy, but they only caused a controlled market correction. They could have compromised our security systems, but they upgraded them instead. Realization began dawning on various faces and sensory appendages around the chamber. This wasn't a diplomatic incident, I explained. This was a job interview, and we failed spectacularly. My datapad pinged. A message from an unknown source appeared finally. Someone gets it. RN. I smiled, continuing my explanation. The humans didn't walk away because they were angry. They walked away because they knew exactly what would happen next. As if on cue, the chamber's communication system lit up with urgent messages from every major trading house, corporate alliance, and economic power in the galaxy, all demanding the same thing: reopen negotiations with the humans immediately. You see, I said, watching comprehension spread across the chamber, they knew our own economy would force us back to the table. But now we'll return as supplicants, not superior beings imposing our will. They played us like a quantum harp. Brax then slumped in his chair. So what do we do now? Now I checked my datapad, where another message had appeared, coordinates attached. Dinner at 2000 hours. Bring the Economic Advisory Board, JC. Now we do what humans apparently love most: we adapt. They've shown us a glimpse of what's possible when you stop fearing the future and start embracing it. The question is, are we brave enough to take that step? The council chamber, for once, was completely silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just outmaneuvered us diplomatically, they had forced us to confront our own stagnation. And they had done it while making us think it was our idea. As I prepared to leave for my unexpected dinner engagement, I couldn't help but admire the sheer elegance of their strategy. They had achieved more in one day of walking away than they could have in years of conventional negotiations. My datapad pinged one final time. A pleasure doing business with you, Ambassador Pax Lori. Looking forward to working together. P.S. Arya says to bring that bottle of Centaurian brandy you've been saving. She says it pairs well with human humor. RN. I looked up at the still stunned council members and smiled. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place. And somewhere out there, I was certain a group of humans were raising their glasses, celebrating the success of the greatest diplomatic con in galactic history. Sometimes, it seems, the best way to join the game is to flip the table and start a new one. Humans, as I was learning, excelled at both.